You know the vibes. www.daymcomic.com, DAYMCOMIC.com. Click the link below. Order your comic books right now. They're dropping in a few months. Don't be without one.
What's going on, guys? Antonio here. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up for me, and let's get into it. All right, so LeVar Burton is doing press right now because he has a new game show coming, Trivial Pursuit. I don't think they've started airing those yet, but if not, either way, look it up. If you like LeVar Burton, if you like game shows, and check out. I'm sure if it's not out yet, then they'll tell you when it can come. But LeVar, he's doing press. There was a little controversy over the summer when he was guest hosting Jeopardy. And there were people that really thought he got shafted when they did not name him as Alex Trebek's replacement. I actually thought it was going to be what's the guy, Ken, was it Ken Matt? I don't know what it is, Ken something, I thought. That was the guy I thought they were going to choose because he had been a contestant on Jeopardy. He, was a very high dollar winner. I know he won over $1 million on Jeopardy. He's come back for Tournament of Champions, the whole thing. I thought, it seemed like Alex liked him. A lot of people thought that was going to be Alex's replacement. And I wasn't like, oh, racism, because I saw him when, that was like 15, 20 years ago when he had been on the show originally and he was getting all these national. I thought he was going to be the guy. Even though I saw some of LeVar hosting and I thought he was very smooth and did a good job. So if he had gotten chosen, I wouldn't have been offended by that. But I thought the Ken guy, but they ended up picking Mayim Bialik and from Big Bang Theory, Blossom, all that good stuff. And whatever that show she's got on Fox now, which got picked up for a second season. But her and the producer guy, who I can't remember his name, but they decided, it was like, we're going to have two hosts. And whenever they do that kind of takes me out of it anyway. But they picked Mayim and the Jeopardy producer guy. The Jeopardy producer guy apparently got exposed. He had been doing some, weird harassment. He got Me Too'd. I know that. So he had to step down, even though the reality is they got him up out of there when certain things came to light, which is what always happens. They end up finding out something bad about you, and you get, even if it was like 10 years ago, it's like, oh, he did this 10 years ago, and he was gone. So that's what happened. I don't think it was a racial thing with LeVar Burton. And I'm mentioning that because, like I said, that he's promoting Trivial Pursuit. But one of the things, he started talking about his career as far as Star Trek The Next Generation and why hasn't he been on Star Trek Picard yet, even though they had, so far, the only two, they've had 3 original cast members back. They had Data, Brent Spiner, and then they had Marina Sirtis and Jonathan Frakes come back as Troy and number 1. So that's Commander Riker. So that's the only thing, and LeVar's directed a bunch of Star Trek episodes. They've had him on, directing Deep Space Nine. He directed Voyager. He directed some Enterprise episodes. I think he was directing an episode of Picard for this upcoming second season. But that was one of the things that was like, why hasn't he been back? Why hasn't Michael Dorn been back? There's a photo on the page that I was reading where when they were filming Riker and Troy with Picard and whoever that chick was, Data's daughter or whatever, the android girl, they were apparently LeVar Burton and Michael Dorn, who played Commander Worf, these guys are all friends. They've known each other for like 35 years. So they paid a visit to the set. So there was a nice photo of all of them like just sitting there in a nice group shot. And I thought that was really cool. I think that's cool that they're still friends after all these years. That's one thing I always liked about the Next Generation cast, because it did seem like they genuinely liked each other. Although you hear some of these stories later on, Marina Sirtis and Michael Dorn, like that first season or so, they did not like each other at all. They've talked about it because they're like best friends now. They didn't like each other at all. And Marina Sirtis has said, she's like, I met him, I didn't like him, and I don't know why. She had just said she just didn't like him. She don't know why she didn't like him. And then she said something happened and they ended up talking to each other. And she realized, she was like, he's actually a really nice guy. I like him. And then they, her husband liked him. Her husband passed, last year to 2 years ago. They were married for like 30 years and, she lost her husband, the whole thing. But Michael Dorn was friends with her husband as well. And so, like I said, they ended up becoming like family. They taking vacations, hanging with each other and stuff like that. But it was funny to hear, like, at first, she just admitted, she said, I don't know why I didn't like him. I just didn't like him. She just didn't like him. But LeVar Burton talked about certain things that happened while he was filming Star Trek The Next Generation. And he thought that the fact that he was a black man ended up causing some of the feelings that he had. He felt like the white producers on the show were very careful because they were asking, like, why come LaForge never got a love interest on the show? And even when they did do like a love interest with him, they did the hologram thing. What was that? There was an episode called Booby Trap, and that was the one where LaForge was trying to solve a problem, and he needed the help of the doctor who had created something, who was like a specialist or whatever, but she was on a space station like hundreds of light years away or whatever, so they couldn't get her in. So he like kind of took her personality profile or whatever and created a hologram version of this doctor. And if you saw the episode, you know that LaForge ended up falling in love with the hologram version of the doctor. And then like a season or so later, they decided, because I liked that episode, and I guess fans did too, or the producers at least thought enough of it to follow up on that episode, because they brought the real doctor onto the Enterprise, and she went into the holodeck, and she found out that LaForge had created this false version of her. So it was actually, if you actually look at that episode, that was actually a Me Too episode. Because when she went into the holodeck and found out that this fake version of her existed, and the thing was, I think Geordi, because he had developed feelings for the hologram, he thought that when he met the real doctor, that she would have, similar feelings or whatever, even though she was married and the whole, she was completely different from the fake version that he had created. And then, it kind of brought up some interesting questions, but he talked about the fact that he didn't feel like they handled him having a significant other very well on the show, and maybe that race had played a part in that. I thought it was, he said this, there's a lid for every pot, which I thought was that sounded like something my mom used to say, and I know him and my mom were almost the same age. So, or, would have been anyway. But it was interesting when he said that, and I just, he kind of went into some things, because I can't necessarily, I thought it was interesting because, like I said, Data did have, he hooked up with Tasha Yar. We know that. Data hooked up with Tasha Yar. And then there was another episode where a woman had developed feelings for Data, and he couldn't do that, and then you think about him hooking up with the Board Queen, and so yeah, they did things with Data that they didn't do with Geordi LaForge, and I can get where he's saying with that, right? But I was also thinking, I was like, wait a minute, the the crew members falling in love with the holodeck people, they've done that with multiple cast members. They did that with Jonathan Frakes, Commander Riker. Remember that character Minuet? There was a character Minuet, and they had Minuet. Matter of fact, they followed up with Minuet. There was in one of the latter seasons, someone had captured the Enterprise, and they were all like in a dream state, and they basically gave each person like a perfect life or whatever. And in this perfect life, Riker had married Minuet, and they had a child, and he was still, he's playing like jazz, and I think he had become captain of the Enterprise. That was I can't remember that episode, but he kept questioning. He was like, this isn't real. Something's wrong in the with my life. And the reason the aliens that did this to the crew of the Enterprise did not know, he had such a strong romantic feelings for Minuet. They thought Minuet was a real person, and they didn't realize that Minuet was a hologram program. So that was what made him start going, that's why I knew something wasn't right, because Minuet was never a real person. She was a hologram. So that kept making him question. His mind kept questioning, something is wrong. But LeVar Burton kind of thought that maybe they did not want to see a black man seen as sexual on Star Trek. We see that although, like I say, when you look at Michael Dorn's black, Michael Dorn played Lieutenant Worf. They had him with who? Marina Sirtis. They had him with his Alexander's mother, she's white. So they kept putting him with all these different women. Michael Dorn hooked up a couple times on the show, so that kind of made it look, like I said, and the fact that, like I said, he didn't like the fact that he does get to hook up, but it's a hologram. But they did that. Jonathan Frakes did that. They did some of that same stuff on Deep Space Nine, with some of those characters kind of having those kind of issues on the holodeck and forgetting that it wasn't real. They also did that on Voyager, where they had a couple of the crew, Tom and Harry, they were in the holodeck and on their little adventures, and there were women, and Catherine Janeway, they had created this little town. And it was like was it an Irish or Scottish town or whatever, and they would go, and it was kind of a throwback, and she had a fellow there, Catherine Janeway did. So I mean, it was on the holodeck. So I don't necessarily realize. I'm not saying that there weren't racial issues on Star Trek. We know there were. What was the guy, Ira Bear, who was one of the producers on a couple of the Star Trek shows, but I know he worked on Deep Space Nine. When you look, there was the Deep Space Nine documentary that they crowdfunded. I actually own it. So the Deep Space Nine documentary, when they talk about all the stuff that happened with Commander Sisko, they had meetings. The Paramount executives were nervous about his hair. They thought because Avery Brooks wanted to be bald, and they were like, no, we don't want. We want you to look kind of like you looked on Spencer for Hire as Hawk, because they thought that would be more, that white people would not be as intimidated. They were already taking a risk putting a black man in the commander's chair. Although that was another thing, not making him a captain right away. They was like, okay, well, we want the audience to like him, so let's not make him a captain right away. And this is stuff that they were discussing in the documentary. So I'm saying this happened. You got white people admitting this stuff happened. So that's why I'm saying you can say it is, you can, or you can talk about bringing race into it or whatever, but they admitted now that these were discussions that they were having. Obviously now they look back and it's like, oh, I can't believe, that we were having these conversations 30 plus years ago or whatever, but this happened. They were afraid that if he cut his hair and was bald, that would, scare white audiences away. Didn't want to necessarily make him a captain right away, or all this kind of thing. So the fact that it's been admitted that certain conversations like this were happening, I understand where LeVar Burton is coming from, but like I said, they did this with other cast members on other Star Trek shows. So I mean, and I respect LeVar Burton so much. So I almost feel bad having it, but I thought it was an interesting take when you don't look at the fact that some of the other non-black cast members had storylines where they had hologram romances or whatever. But LeVar Burton, Trivial Pursuit. Hopefully that's a success for him, and he gets to do that show for many years to come, and all that good stuff. But I just thought that was an interesting topic, so that's why I wanted to make the video. Get in the comments, let me know what you guys think. I'm out. PlaceTheBets.com, guys. Are you tired of crapping out on sites like Fanduel and Draftkings? Go to PlaceTheBets.com, set your fantasy lineup, baseball, football, basketball, hockey. They got them all. They'll set your lineup. 30 days is only $1. You can go, you can sign up right now. That 30 days is only $1. PlaceTheBets.com and get that Skrilla. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and please check out my podcast at anchor.fm/AkariPress, or just type in Akari Press on your favorite streaming platform today.